wrap-up statements.
I want to ask a crazy question because, you know, everything here has been focused on the students, which obviously it should be. But I know Erika and Joyce have, you know, worked in the classroom, and I'm married to an educator. We have a lot of kids who come to school that aren't prepared to learn. They come in, they haven't done their homework from the night before. Parents, you know, today's parents are working very hard. Some of them probably aren't at home a lot. And I think a lot of the kids that struggle in our schools are kids that just aren't coming to school prepared to learn. How do we address helping families, helping parents, whether they be one or two parent families, have their kids be prepared to learn in school? Because I think if you took that group out of our school and you just tested the rest, you'd see our test scores would be very strong. I don't blame a lot of what's wrong in our schools on the teachers, or, you know, maybe even on our administration. Some of the blame has to go to the parents and to the families, because you have kids that are coming to school. Some of these kids in the high school level are coming in and they're drunk or they're high, and there's disciplinary issues which affect other kids in the classroom. How do we address that? That's a big question with lots of different ways it can go.
I'll start a couple things. Interestingly enough, my husband, who is not an educator and who sometimes gets into arguments with me about education, he asked me the other day, he said, how did Providence get zeros in the kneecap in some of the tests? And I said, well, I can just give you an excellent explanation. One, the kids aren't in school, period, and you cannot get them in. You can't get the parents to bring them in. Two, they sit there and they just go like this. Or they fill in and do little things. How we addressed it in my building, and I went from a low-performing school to a Regents a recommended school, commended school, was that I actually had the parents come in. If I knew that that was going to happen, the parents came in and sat down and watched them take the test. And that wasn't, it didn't always happen, but, you know, those are some of the things. We cut out a lot of programs that we had for extra help and everything after school for the parents also. And I think that's where we have to do. We have to bring the parents in more. We used to have an adult school here in Cumberland. It was at, well, Cumberland Middle School, but now McCourt Middle School. It was there right until actually I got over there in '87. And we have a lot of parents who, they can't help with their math. Have you seen the math books? You know, I mean, they're unbelievable. They need help helping them too. And they're very frustrated. And we actually, when we were sending problems home, and we would have meetings with parents that they could come over, and now we could do most of that online, but, you know, to get the parents help to learn to do that problem. Because we would do monthly tests in all four groups that we test in: math, science, English, social studies. We did all that, and we did practice exams. Every once a month we had a practice question and stuff like that. And we helped the parents with it too. So I think that's a way anyway.
I can go. I think that's a great question. Certainly one of the things that I've been thinking about since February is this, of how do we get families involved. First, I would say that even some of the highest performing schools in the district, who have very, very low percentage of children who are who qualify for free or subsidized lunch, their scores aren't particularly high either. So I think that there's work to do everywhere, but we are not triaging kids well. I mean, if there's something that, you know, people can be for or against the mayoral academies, but what the mayoral academies are doing is they are bringing children in, and they are skilled in triaging them. So when these kids come in below grade level, they are able to get them up to speed very quickly. And we, for whatever reason, are not able to do that. I don't know if it's that the teachers aren't given the tools to do it, they don't know how to do it, I don't know what the reason is. But pre-K to third grade is basically the predictor of what's going to happen to the child in the future, and literacy is the key. So one of the ways is that if we start focusing much more on literacy with these children who are at risk, then their chance of having academic success later would go up astronomically. Right now the district is not doing that. Our kindergarten program is absolutely not serving the students that you are describing. Another example is, and the union contract would not allow for this, but there are schools where by the first day of school, every single child has been visited in their home by their teacher. So their parents have sat down with the teacher. That is a way that you get parents involved. Now, is that something that we can make happen immediately here? Absolutely not. But in order to get parents engaged, they also have to feel a commitment and an investment from the adults that are working with them. And I have not been here long enough to know whether or not that is happening, but if it isn't, I would certainly work as hard as I could to make sure that it starts happening. Because the graduation rates here are surprisingly low, the SAT participation rates are surprisingly low, and we cannot be a community where the child's destiny is predetermined by what happens to them before the 3rd grade. Thanks.
Thanks. We've looked at this a little bit in something called townwide learning, which was something that spawned off from the strategic plan, and it was really how to create a more engaging educational environment for everyone who lives in the town. But one of the things we talked about was the idea of a parent university, and it's been shown to work elsewhere. It helps provide parents opportunities for discussions related to how to help students, counseling programs, special services. So that would be one thing that I think you could certainly look at as the opportunity for a parent university. It helps parents at every level of their kids' environment. The other thing I think that'll help now with the data surrounding the race to the top is the ability for districts to create a data dashboard, and that will allow us to have indicators when kids aren't thriving. For example, when they start becoming absent, you know there's an issue there that we need to then, the yellow light's on for that kid. They're not doing their homework. By 6th grade, if they have absences or if they've failed English, you know that child is getting set up for some real trouble. So how can we use the data that we don't really have strongly accessible in Rhode Island? It's available in other communities. It's not available in Rhode Island, so that we can build expectations for students, and when they start to fail, how can we be warned that that kid is in trouble? And lastly, I think some kids need more instructional time, whether it's before school or after school, and if we can give those kids an ability to build those skills that they may not have, do their homework, I think that absolutely, that'll help them a great deal.
Drugs and alcohol, they've been around since we all went to school, prevalent up to high school more than anywhere else. I think that all the teachers in Cumberland that I've come across, from Mr. Field, was the first special ed teacher that I've come across from this school, they've gone out of their way. My daughter, she had a reading level of 3rd grade, she had a math level of 4th grade, and she made it to McCourt. I asked Dr. Connie a long time ago, are we promoting just to promote to move the kids along? No, we're not. My daughter should have been kept back without a doubt. Teacher at McCourt last year worked very hard with her in math to bring her up to level before she moved on to 7th grade. It's just a matter of the teachers that we got. They'll go out of their way to help us. I mean, we have a lot of problems. If this was held in the auditorium at the high school tonight, we were talking about redistricting, the room would be full from all the work Mr. Gibbons did. The room would be full. But we're at a PTO meeting. Come on, how many people are here? I go to my PTO, the same thing. Parents, you got two, husband and wife, usually both working now. They don't have time to do it at night. One of our biggest problems is that we have the teacher websites where they put up about homework. I got one of my teachers that hasn't updated since last February, okay? If I can't follow what my daughter needs to do every night, then how can other parents do? I mean, we go check, we all got computers. Did you bring your homework home? I don't know how many times I brought my daughter now back to McCourt. And I said, you're going to crawl through a window. You're going to get your book and bring it out. This ain't going to happen. And we've been doing this all the time. The high school needs some major changes up there, without a doubt. The kneecap, there's no penalty for the kids not taking the test right now. There's none. I mean, so if it's not counted as a grade, who cares if I take the takers? Our test scores are going to look like whatever, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? And then we all get upset because our kneecaps didn't go up, they went down, because we're not making it mandatory the kids take the exams. there needs to be a lot more in the town in regards to intervention. It really does, to keep these families together and work.